Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana for you and me. Ah, yeah, the medical marijuana. Whoa, 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 yeah, the medical. It's the medical marijuana show. You will know. I want to talk to you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio for Friday, late night. Let's see, what's today? The 20th is the day today. And I'm your host, Larry Love. We're live on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. And we're here every Friday night late at 11 p.m. Pacific, due to math in the other time zones. And, of course, again on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain and 6 p.m. Pacific. And because of the holidays, there will be no shows next week and the week after, and we'll be back after the new year. Tonight, our guest will be Josh Stanley and Julia, and they have a project about Peter McWilliams, and we're going to be talking all about that after the first break. But I always like to do a little news, and it's late on Friday nights, and I try not to read too much because I'm bleary-eyed by now. But I do have some audio clips for you. And the first one I think is really, really important. It has to do with New Jersey and Governor Christie. And if you're like me, I don't ever watch Fox News, but this report is from Geraldo Rivera, and it wasn't a bad report. I mean, it's bad about what's happening in Jersey with the governor and kids and stuff. But so let's play this. It's going to be about 8 minutes long, but it's worth hearing. There's some very, very heartfelt people in this. So here is Fox News, Geraldo Rivera from a couple days ago.
It's a fact of life, folks, that in some states like nearby New Jersey there, it's easier to buy hard drugs like heroin than it is to get medical marijuana. Craig investigates the sometimes tragic consequences. The latest craze among pot smokers is called BHO, that's butane hash oil. And what it is the chemical breakdown of regular marijuana. It's the oils which are actually extracted from pot. This young man, call him Jake, says he needs the most potent pot to alleviate chronic pain from a bad motorcycle accident.
You know, I used to take 9 pills a day, and I don't know. I think the side effects for the drugs are worse than what they help to cure.
This crude method of extracting BHO is not only illegal, it's also dangerous.
Holy shit!
There have been scores of accidental explosions from coast to coast, but to users like Jake, it's worth the risks.
This would probably be pounds of weed.
Ironically, illegal users have access that law-abiding families do not.
We asked our pediatrician and our neurologist what they thought of it, and they said they would support us in any decision we made.
At just 14 months old, Paula and Philip's little girl Sabina developed a severe form of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. From the parents' grapevine, they learned cannabis extracts could help their little girl. But in New Jersey, ironically one of 20 states plus the District of Columbia with medical marijuana, it's still tough to get the drug legally.
We had to find a psychiatrist, which we did. We found a registered medical marijuana doctor in New Jersey. We submitted to him all of her files, all her test results, all the letters, and he was supposed to file her application November 25th. ultimately had her seizure on November 27th.
So you're saying the process took so long that Sabina passed away before you could ever follow through and get her the drugs that you believe would have helped her?
Correct.
Since the age of 2, Tina's daughter, 14-year-old Jenna, has needed an array of drugs and brain surgery to treat her life-threatening seizures. Now her mom is part of an informal network of New Jersey parents trying to get the state to loosen up its strict regulations.
We've been approved the end of November. She did receive her card through the state, and thus far she has not been able to receive any because they don't have any edibles.
4 years since the Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act was signed into law here in New Jersey, getting the product is still problematic, especially for young children. Clinics like the Greenleaf Compassion Center don't carry the type of medical marijuana that can be given to children.
We've taken the steps we've taken. Set up a regulatory scheme that makes this a very narrow and medically based program that will not lead itself to the abuses that we've seen, particularly in California and in Colorado.
So that's the key right there, okay, everybody? The governor does not want to expand this program in New Jersey at the expense of little kids. It's amazing. I hope he's digging his own grave as far as running for the top office. All right, back to the report.
September, Governor Christie reluctantly signed a measure expanding the number of non-psychoactive plant strains that treatment centers can legally grow for use by young children. But these plants take time to grow.
They're growing the plants now. The law just got passed for edibles, so it obviously takes time for these plants to grow, for the oils to be made. In the meantime, these families shouldn't have to pick up and move to Colorado to treat. They shouldn't have to leave New Jersey. They shouldn't have to leave their families. They should be able to have it shipped to them.
Realm of Caring, a nonprofit supplier in Colorado where pot use is legal, has offered to ship the New Jersey parents a strain called Charlotte's Web, named for Charlotte Lilly, one of dozens of sick children they claim the plant has helped.
I have no doubt that if she was on this oil and all these medications have stopped working, which I have seen, I've been to hospitals and I've spent hours and hours and days in the hospital with her after seizures, and I've seen what these drugs that are FDA approved have done to her. I have no doubt that medical marijuana and the oil and whatever marijuana can do for her would have saved her. Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Have you seen it firsthand? Do you know of clinical trials that little girls or boys who are in a similar predicament as Sabina have been helped by these oils?
I've watched the videos of, other little girls. A little girl in Charlotte, in Colorado, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. I've talked to her mother. Mm-hmm. Phil's talked to her. The clinical trials are starting right now. The FDA just approved the clinical trials through NYU. That alone, I know it's going to work.
We've given chances with medications that are through the pharmaceuticals, so it would only be fair for me to say that this is something that we need to try.
How do you think that would improve Jenna's quality of life?
Immensely. She's not eating like she used to with the medications that she's on right now. She's lost almost 20 pounds. In the past year.
How are you doing?
I have my moments, you know what I mean? I have a mission and I'm driven, but my heart hurts so much, like it's unbearable. No one should ever go through this. No mama should ever lose their baby. And 15 months was so short, and it wasn't fair.
That's a damn shame. It really is, Greg. So what exactly is the problem in New Jersey?
Well, the problem in New Jersey is that they allow the edibles for these kids that have these ailments, the edibles being the oil that you could put on the food that they could actually ingest. The problem is that the oils aren't available here in New Jersey because it was just signed into law recently. So here you have kids that are allowed to take it, but they can't get the product that's not in any of these medical marijuana clinics. So there's a proposal before the New Jersey legislature to allow shipment from, say, Colorado that already has this plant, this oil, this extract that the kids can take to help with their ailments. But Christie is refusing to sign it. He's afraid that this is going to help expand illicit pot use. But these families say that pot has no THC and it's not going to
You don't
make
get
the
stoned.
kids high. Exactly. So it's a moot point for them.
So in that case, I think that Chris Christie, I think personally, folks, that he's being a hard ass for no real reason there. The children need it, and it's also evidence of how differently various states, you got more than a dozen states now that have medical marijuana, Washington State and Colorado, where it's totally legal, but there's no consistency. That's really why you need a federal policy.
Yeah, you do need a federal policy, and that's what he points out. He said, you're still breaking federal laws. Even though we have this approved in our state, you're breaking federal laws by, these transactions with pot, and that's the bottom line. He's seen the abuse. He's seen it in California, these seemingly potheads going in saying, oh, I have a headache, I have a footache. Doctors give them a permission slip, and they come out with the weed. But these people are saying that the weed that we need, the oils that we need, don't have THC in them. It's not going to get you high anyway.
It's so ironic. Cheech and Chong are playing. Our friends Cheech and Chong are playing in Atlantic City tonight. The world has gone so far in its evolution of attitudes toward marijuana, but not far enough. And this is an evidence, this clear evidence of a child dying that didn't have to die, of the marijuana prohibition and why it's so bad. Craig, thank you. Up next.
Okay, so again, that's from Geraldo Rivera.
It's a fact of life, folks, that in some states like nearby.
All right, gotta fix that. Anyway, that's Geraldo Rivera. It's really an important story out of New Jersey, because the governor is just putting the brakes on that whole program, and he's done it the whole time. He's dragged his feet, and I think that this is probably going to be detrimental to his future career, which is a good thing. So anyway, let me give out the numbers if you want to call in. Studio lines in New Mexico, 505-514-0098, 575-5194-MMJ. In Arizona, a hot spot for medical marijuana, 623-399-4MMJ. And in California, 818-8500 MMJ, and you can Skype in at MMJRadio. Next up, it's getting really close in Colorado. There's a lot of stories coming out about what's going to happen when it becomes legal on the 1st, and here's one of a couple stories I'm going to play for you right now. This is only a couple of weeks left to prepare.
2 weeks from tomorrow, on the 1st of January, the world will be looking to Colorado as legal sales of recreational pot begin. The first stores will open at 8 a.m. Our state and local governments are racing against a ticking clock to get ready in time. 9 News political reporter Brandon Rittiman explains what needs to be done and what won't be ready until later next year.
2 weeks out, and state tax officials haven't finished all the rules for pot shops and growers to follow. For tax purposes, Colorado will distinguish between the flower or bud of the plant used for smoking and the rest of the plant called trim, which is processed into edible products. But the state hasn't published the average prices it's going to use, which means growers don't know how much tax they're going to pay on each pound of pot.
When would the potential taxpayers can expect to know what that average market rate will be?
I expect it'll be very soon, but I don't know exactly when it'll be.
It is exciting and stressful.
Michael Elliott represents about 50 pot shops, none of which have licenses yet.
About 7 are really shooting for that January 1st date and think that they can pull it off. But they have an awful lot of hurdles to get through.
Especially in Denver, where pot shops need a public hearing and multiple inspections. Those that can open on New Year's plan for huge crowds.
So I think we're going to see very secure businesses. They've got their own private security companies. We might see a shortage, and that might be the problem.
Those are the rules that we're proposing.
That aside, Elliott thinks the state is building a good system for the long-term success of the industry. He doesn't say the same for the federal government.
I mean, we're talking about taxes and collecting taxes, and we're still having trouble getting a checking account in many of the businesses.
Banks are regulated by federal law, and federal law treats the pot business as racketeering. Most banks won't do business with pot shops until they hear otherwise.
You're going to hear our voice raising louder and louder that this needs to be fixed.
Not a problem.
Companies worry that sitting on cash makes them a target for criminals, one of many issues that'll be unresolved as we enter 2014. Brandon Rittiman, 9 News.
State workers say it is not unheard of for pot companies to pay their taxes in cash. Most of Colorado's U.S. House members have signed on to a bill that would legalize banking for pot companies, but it has yet to gain traction beyond Colorado and Washington State, which also legalized pot.
Okay, one more.
2 weeks from tomorrow, on
here
the
we go
1st
again
of
with
January,
the repeat.
The world will.
One more short piece, and then we'll take a break, and we'll be back with Josh and Julia. This is about another part of the legalization, people getting in trouble for trying to make butane, and they had a little fire.
Developing right now at 6, investigating an explosion inside a home in Longmont. 2 people are in the hospital, 1 with severe burns. CBS 4's Sean Boyd is at that scene tonight. Sean, it appears firefighters do know exactly what happened.
And Jim, they say 3 men were spraying butane into a jar of marijuana to make hash oil when it exploded. It happened at this house here with the Christmas lights, and police say a basement full of pot plants. This man, one of 3, police say was involved. He suffered burns to his hands and face when butane vapors ignited in this garage, causing an explosion that blew out windows and brought neighbors like Dan Krause running.
Very loud. It was a loud explosion, glass, and then some yelling. And I was very concerned that someone might be on fire.
Police say the men were using butane to extract hash oil from marijuana. The oil, pure THC, the active ingredient in pot. It's potent and expensive, selling for up to $100 a gram.
People were on fire within the home. They ran out, stripped their clothes, and then they immediately said to the neighbors, "Don't call the police." They then witnessed these same individuals start throwing things into the trash, dragging things out of the garage. The neighbors obviously called the police.
Jeff Satter with Longmont Police says the men face charges of conspiracy and arson.
They put potentially the neighbors at risk of their homes burning down.
Satter says the owner of the house seen here told investigators he moved here from New Jersey because of Colorado's pot laws and was growing a large number of plants in his basement.
No drug charges. Right now it's just arson because marijuana is legal.
And this is the 3rd explosion like this we've seen in Colorado in just over a year. In one of the cases, a 7-year-old child was injured. 2 states, Oregon and California, have banned this process. Live in Longmont, Sean Boyd, CBS 4.
You had to see the face on the policeman when he said, marijuana is legal. He was like, harumph, upset about it. Anyway, we'll be right back with Josh and Julia right after this break for the network.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio. The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana radio show.
Okay, we're in a break. Let me, for the viewers on Ustream, I'm just going to get Julia on the line. We have Josh on hold. And then when we come back in 4 minutes, we'll start our conversation. Hi, Josh. It's Larry. We're in a little break. I'm going to get Julia on the line. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Cool. All right, let's see. I'm going to add Julia.
Absolutely.
Let's see, how do I do this now? Well, let's try it this way. Add to call. Josh, I'm going to put you on hold again.
Yeah, no problem.
Be right back, man.
Hello?
Hi, Julie. It's Larry.
Hi.
Okay, I've got Josh on hold. I'm going to see how I can Would you do me a favor? Can you dial me?
Okay, can you give me the number?
Sure. It's 505. Excuse me.
505.
No, call 575.
575.
5194MMJ.
Or okay, you want me to call now?
Yeah, wait like 10 seconds, then call.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Okay, Josh, you're there, right?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, we're in a little break. Julia's going to call right now, and then I'll have the three of us talking. And when we come back from the break, we'll talk about the Peter McWilliams project.
Great.
What part of the land are you in now? You home?
I'm on the no, not home. I'm out west. I'm in Los Angeles right now.
My old hometown. You and I actually met in Los Angeles at the first Cannabis Cup in February of whatever that was. For 2 seconds, you were running around giving out cards, talking about your upcoming reality show.
Oh my God! Yeah. Yep, I remember those days.
All right, let's see how much time we got. 20 seconds coming back. Okay, here we go.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show.
Hi, this is Steve D'Angelo, and you are listening to Medical Marijuana Radio.
Okay, we're back. I have Josh on the line, and I'm trying to get Julia to call in. Josh, welcome to Medical Marijuana Radio. Julia, if you're out there, please call in, and I'll hook you into the show. Welcome, Josh. I'm so happy to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you very much. It's truly an honor to be here. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with doing the narration for the Peter McWilliams project.
Well, you know, I've been a fan of Peter's work for quite some time. A lot of the books, probably, you know, Ain't Nobody's Business If You Do has been one of my favorite for years, and that was, you know, really even before I started to get heavy into the cannabis movement, you know, over 8 years ago. And so, you know, I'm very sorry to hear of his untimely death. And then when I found out what Julia Rose was doing and really taking up his staff and his work and continuing his name, I was honored to get to know her first and foremost, especially as an activist as she is, and how passionate she is. And I've seen her at all kinds of different, you know, festivals online and the work that she's done. So when she came to me and asked me, you know, this final unfinished work from Peter McWilliams, and said, would you read it? I said, sure, I'd read it. And I didn't really understand what she meant. And then I got it. I said, oh, you want me to narrate it? And I melted. I mean, what do you say to an honor like that, to be able to put words to such a genius's mind? It's flattering.
He was, you know, I'm 63 years old, so I was very much an adult in the 70s, and I remember he was a very prominent, well-known author back then. So, you know, I knew of him, but I didn't know about his story, obviously, until recently. So I guess, you know, I did some reading, but, you know, let me see. I'm trying to get Julia on the phone. So let me try to get her real quick and see if this will work right here.
Yeah, no problem.
I think we made it this time.
Hello?
Julia, hi. You're live with Josh and Larry here on Medical Marijuana Radio.
Yay, I was trying to call the other number, so.
Yeah, I figured out how to do it. Anyway, so welcome. And Josh and I were just, you know, talking a little bit about Peter, and you know that he was a very prominent author, and so he got basically. Tell us a little bit about what your film is. What are you trying to convey to the audience?
First of all, I just wanted to say that I'm very honored that Mr. Josh Stanley agreed to do this. Hi, Uncle Josh.
Hey, sweet girl, how are you?
Good, how are you doing? I wanted to let your listening audience know that I've dubbed him my uncle, which is an honor that I don't bestow on many people. So, well, I got involved with this because, I'd say about 2 years ago, I found his book online, but it was buried in a really strange place, and it was just a bunch of images. And, somebody said, hey, you should do something with this. And I was thinking about it. And but other stuff came up, and then this came about. So it just kind of came about a little bit suddenly, in a way.
So, Julia, Peter got very sick at some point, and he was a well-known author for a really long time, and so this last book that you were talking about, was that an unfinished book, and this was about his experience when he was ill? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It was part 1, and at the end you'll hear at the end of the video, Uncle Josh says, part 2 is supposed to be all this other stuff, and it's really sad because you realize there isn't going to be a part 2, and that he fully planned a part 2, and he planned to be around, and that's what makes it tragic, because he planned to stay alive. I mean, he found that the medical marijuana was the one thing keeping his meds down. He was on so many drugs that there was like 12 pages of side effects, and it was all in small print, so you can imagine the amount of pain he was in. And
where was he living at the time?
At this point, he was at Los Angeles.
He was in Los Angeles, where medical marijuana was approved in '96, which was actually when I left Los Angeles. What was the problem? He had a legal problem, I guess, with using cannabis, but yet it was legal there. So can either you or Josh explain that one to us?
I don't know what Uncle Josh wants to say to I can say that Proposition 215 was supposed to protect people like Peter, and as far as I could tell, he was doing things to the letter of the law, but he was starting to help grow plants for the patients. And he had this mansion, they called it, in Bel Air, and they dubbed it the Bel Air Mansion, and they started calling him a drug kingpin. Here's this gentle, sweet man that tried to help all these people, and he started labeling him that.
Mm-hmm.
Because what was happening was he had the book that Uncle Josh mentioned, Ain't Nobody's Business If You Do. He had published that, and it was really coming out against the DEA real strong. And all these DEA agents, they would go to people's houses, and they were noticing when they made these raids, Peter's book was there.
Really?
Yeah, so they started to target him. They're like, oh, this guy is a troublemaker, and we're going to go after him, because he had a strong voice. He spoke before the Libertarian Party about, the evils of the drug war, and people were listening to him. He was an intelligent guy. Here's a best-selling author who made something really big of his life, and they wanted to cut him down, so that's what they started doing. They raided his house. They took his computer, which had almost, 3 books ready, which was devastating to him. They arrested him and jailed him, and they said as condition of the bail, if your mom and your brother are going to lose their homes if you ever do medical cannabis again.
Wow. I mean, this is, a story that, he's not the only one. Obviously, people's lives have been ruined. But the problem that I'm having is, he was supposed to be protected in California. Okay. So what was the law with 215? Couldn't you have, I think you could have like 12 plants, couldn't you?
You think so? Uncle Josh might know more specifics of that, because
yeah. You could under Prop 215. It started a wave, but it still didn't offer and still doesn't offer protection from the federal government. And when somebody like Peter stands up to be so strong and so outspoken, it challenges the status quo. And the status quo is really largely an army based on fear and fear tactics. And when you start to challenge that, there may be another way to think. Then that onslaught and that attack surely comes. But I like to think, after reading a lot of Peter's work and been an admirer of him for so long, that while we weren't able to get to part 2 because he wasn't able to write it or put it out, I feel like that's what we're all living right now, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're portraying, we're enacting part 2 through all of the different levels that we're doing as far as our activation, our education, and spreading the word about medicinal cannabis and all of the incredible benefits that it brings. So I believe that Peter's work it's very, very much alive. And if you were here today, I would believe he would stand up and he would applaud, everyone for bringing about part 2.
I grew up basically in Los Angeles. I was born in Jersey and moved to Los Angeles, arrived there in the summer of '68, which was a special time up there on Sunset Strip. And that's when I first started using cannabis, marijuana. And, I've been waiting 45, or more years for us to get to this point. When I was 21 or 22 years old, I was handing out leaflets from NORML to try to legalize and passing them around. I mean, it's been a long time. And then, of course, I obviously been around it for a while. I've worked in dispensaries now here in New Mexico. And so you're right. I think that because of people like Peter, who I guess has to be a martyr in the medical cannabis world now, other people are now able to benefit from the fight that he started back then and that other people are continuing on now. So Julia, tell us when people can see the video and how, and of course give out the name and talk more about that.
Okay. Fingers crossed. It should be out Christmas Eve. I've had to delay it like 3 or 4 or 5 times. It was supposed to be out February 14th, so it's been very interesting trying to get it all together. So I'm really hoping, barring me, getting hit by a train or a truck or something, it should be out Christmas Eve. And it's called A Question of Compassion, and gee whiz, I can't speak. An AIDS cancer patient explores medical marijuana, and it'll be out on YouTube. If people want to go to the channel, it's We Remember Peter is the channel, and I'm hoping Uncle Josh will carry it on his Realm of Caring channel as well. That would be awesome if he does. And
sure.
And it's
Let me give
about 25 minutes.
How long will it be totally?
Around 25 minutes.
Well,
It's
I
not
was
very long.
I was privileged to see about 5 minutes of it, Josh, the other night, and I really can't wait to see the rest of it. And what do you think, Josh? What do you think the most important? It's only 25 minutes long, which is fine. What do you think the most important thing that people should learn from watching this video?
Well, there are 2 things, actually. I mean, it's hard to say one thing. I think 2 things. Number one, obviously, the compassion aspect of this, and the fact that really what we're looking at here is Peter has said all of his life, through all of his works, including this one, you can't legislate morality. Stop trying. Because something is taboo to you doesn't mean that it's taboo to me or somebody else that's suffering, so you can't put a price tag on that. And you certainly can't begin to take somebody's freedom from that. And I think number 2 is the safety profile of this, and looking at all of the other various drugs that are approved on the market, whether they're over the counter or whether they're pharmaceutical. And when you look at the absolute insanity of the safety profile, which is off the charts for something like cannabis, this whole argument completely becomes moot. And I've always loved the way that Peter's been able to portray that.
Isn't it amazing, Josh, that all of a sudden, the last 5-6 years, maybe even longer, but just every day now, there's more and more studies coming out that that cannabis is good for this, and it's for Alzheimer's, for dementia, for Parkinson's, for it's such a widespread amazing thing that's happening that it's almost laughable in a way, because the stigma that has been put on marijuana as being so evil. My dad was a jazz musician, and one of the first joints I ever got, I was in high school. A friend of mine mailed it to me from Chicago, and I was living in New Jersey. I was maybe 16, and we were about to smoke it with a friend, and all of a sudden his parents came home. I never got to smoke it. I ended up giving it to my dad, and so my dad and mom, back in like '65, because he was a musician, it was commonplace. But then it was a couple more years after that for me to finally smoke it. But if my father was alive now, he'd be like almost 100 years old, but he would be laughing his ass off that marijuana is this great, fantastic medicine. It's just amazing to me. And I think, Josh, part of the problem I think that maybe people like you and I and Julia have when we're trying to talk to people about using it medicinally is maybe that it is good for so much that people are sort of not believing it, because you hear that it's good for 25, 30 different things. It's quite amazing.
Well, Larry, that's a very, very important and astute point that you bring up. It almost gets to the point where we sound like snake oil salesmen, right? Because we're talking about all these various illnesses and disease states that cannabis can be very, very good for. But do you realize that we just discovered the endocannabinoid system in 1991?
Right.
And the endocannabinoid system is the most prevalent receptor systems in all mammals. And that was discovered in 1991. And so when we look at causation, for example, and you think about pharmacology and the pharmaceutical industry, what are those medicines designed to treat? Symptoms.
Right.
Only symptoms, okay? They don't go after cause and effect. Now, the endocannabinoid system is a receptor system that's based on, is there a deficiency, and can you fill that gap? It just so happens that the cannabis plant has more cannabinoids, and there are other plants that have cannabinoids, but the cannabis plant has and now we're discovering even probably up to 120, and also different flavonoids and terpenes, but that's another story.
Let's talk more. We got to take a break right now in about 5 seconds. So let's talk more about that after the break. And we'll be back in about 4 minutes, everybody, and we'll be taking some calls if you'd like to call in as well. So we'll be right back after this. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to put you both on hold.
Yep, no problem.
You got 4 minutes if you have to get a drink or anything, Julia. And all right,
great.
Putting you both on hold. Okay, we're going to break, everybody. If you're out there listening, hang on, let's... Hi, you're on the air. I'm going to put you on hold. What's your name? Electro Pig von Frankenstein? Are you there? Hello?
Hey, it's Josh.
Okay, I got Josh, but someone else just called in. Well, you know what?
I'm here too.
Okay, you're there, and then we have somebody else, but I don't hear them talking, so I will ask them, if you hear me, call back after we get back on the air. Electro Pig von Frankenstein. That's what they say.
That's so funny.
All right, hang on, you guys. I'm going to put you back on hold. Let's see. Okay. Hi, are you there this time, sir?
I think so.
Okay, cool. I'm going to, I think what I'd like to do, if you would call back after we go live again after the commercial, after I get Josh and Josh, are you and Julia there now? Are we all there? No.
Hi, are you there this time, sir? I think so.
Okay,
cool.
call back after we go live after the commercial, okay? Electro Pig von Frankenstein? That would be better. It's easier for me that way. Thanks. Okay. Are we still on hold or what here? No, we're on hold. Hi, as you know, over the next few years, the cannabis industry is going to explode into a multi-million-dollar industry. 420webdesign.com is your affordable design provider. 420 Web Design prides themselves on fair prices and a grounded staff. They listen to their ganjapreneurs' website needs. Getting into the marijuana industry doesn't need to break your bank. Our sites come with tons of features. Just a few of them include responsive designs for mobile viewers, easy to update platforms, built-in SEO and SMO tools, enterprise-level security, video tutorials, database backups, Google Maps, onboard analytics, and much more. This is backed by a decade of website design and development experience. For all of your 420 web design needs, go to 420webdesign.com. Again, 420webdesign.com. Check them out. Hi, as you know, over the next few years... Hi, this is Larry Love from Medical Marijuana Radio. Please listen to this important information about a great device by magicalbutter.com to make your oils, tinctures, and butter.
Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequence designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. We believe in herbal remedies and using pharmaceutical pills only when medically necessary. Our device is simple to use. Combine herbs with butter or oil, press a button, and walk away. Magical Butter does everything else. It grinds, heats, and stirs. Please browse our site to discover how to eat the treat. Thank you for your support, and have a magical day.
Again, for your tinctures, butter, and oils, that's magicalbutter.com. This is a great appliance. Use coupon code LOVE to get $20 off.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio.
Hey, this is Scott from Rare Dankness. You're listening to Medical Marijuana Radio.
Okay, we're back. I'm going to get Josh and Julia back on the line. If anybody else wants to call in, we can do that. Hi, Josh and Julia. We're back again. So, Josh, we were talking, about how cannabis just is so much better than pharmaceuticals. And, of course, one of the news stories out this week and in the last few weeks has been about GW Pharmaceuticals actually having a patent. So, Josh, how do you feel about that? Because you're involved in developing strains and Charlotte's Web and all that. So, how do you feel about a big company getting a patent on cannabinoids?
Well, I feel about as happy as I am about us having GMOs in our food supply.
Yeah.
I feel like it's incredibly unfair, but at the same time, we have to take the good with the bad in some instances. And so, I have to look at this and say, listen, at least GW is not going down the route, at least right now, of synthesizing the cannabidiol molecule, but is instead going with the whole plant compound. But then again, I do have some inside information as far as their studies and some of their testings are going. And comparing that to what, the actual plant that my brothers and I developed, the results are fairly far off, meaning that, our results are proving to be quite substantially more effective because we have the complete whole plant compound effect, or the entourage effect, as it's known in chemistry. So, I'm glad that pharmacology to an extent is rearing their heads, but you know what? It's still pharmacology. These pills are still, over $50 a piece for these families, and these children and these families can't afford that. Furthermore, to grant GW an orphan drug allowance, where they're the only ones that can study this for 7 years, is absolutely asinine.
Who made that decision?
Food and Drug Administration.
The FDA. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh boy. What do you think needs to happen to make medical and recreational a little bit smoother? Do you think President Obama will deschedule this cannabis before he leaves office?
Well, let me give you what I think is an interesting perspective. I believe that if you have a crystal ball, I think look at it this way. I think the Republicans have one foot in the grave in regards to social policy. I think they've gone so far to the right, they've almost fallen off the wing. And so, we know that they're not going to sway votes in regards to same-sex marriage. They're not going to go that far to be, that accepting of human nature. And so medical marijuana is something that they're going to strongly cling to in their platform. So I believe that it could be an interesting swing situation, medical marijuana, coming in the general election in 2016. But if President Obama and the Democratic committee, if they're smart and they're calculating, then what I believe is they'll take the feet out of the Republican Party, and they'll step in and they'll decriminalize across the country. Because what's going to happen is you're going to see the swing. You're going to see the tables shift, and you're going to see that 26th, 27th, or 28th state go medical. And then at that point in time, the federal government is going to have to establish a mandate.
Right. At the beginning of my show, I don't know if you were listening then, I played a Geraldo Rivera report from Fox News about New Jersey, and they mentioned your organization, the Realm of Caring, and they want to try to figure out how to send medicine from other states like Colorado to New Jersey. How do you think that's going to work? I'm going to hook in this other person real quick, but think about your answer. Do you think that could actually happen? Okay, you're on the air, Electro Pig von Frankenstein. Are you there? I'm not hearing him. Okay. Try again. Josh, go ahead. Anyway, so what do you think?
Well, I think it can happen. I think it will happen, and I think that it's something that we've been working on. This reciprocity bill in New Jersey, and the real champion behind this is the Wilson family, Brian Wilson and Megan Wilson, and their little daughter Vivian, who've come out, stayed and lived with me, and we've been working on a CNN documentary that'll be out soon. And Brian, and to their credit, you can't blame them. They don't want their daughter to pass away.
Right. There was another.
Just 2.5 weeks ago, a very precious girl with Dravet syndrome in New Jersey passed away because she can't get to this medication.
Right. That's the sin.
Enough is enough.
That's the sin about it. That's the thing that disturbs me about Governor Christie, is that he can allow something like that to happen because he's dragging his feet, and he makes all these statements. About he doesn't want this to get like Colorado and California, when this is at the expense of people's health. It doesn't make any sense.
Heaven forbid it get like California or Colorado, where crime rates go down, people get better, and taxes go up, right?
Yeah.
Where we can put more money into school systems. Heaven forbid. No. Make no mistake. Governor Christie does not give a damn about the people of New Jersey. He cares about, his fiscal responsibility in taking care of pharmaceutical companies, many of which come out of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. Some of the biggest.
Be mistaken for 1 minute that man has any compassion, even in his little toe.
So, Josh, let me ask you something. There was a post up on Facebook that said that you're no longer with the realm of caring and so forth. Is this some bogus report that I saw yesterday on some guy's Facebook, or is there something going on?
No, it's not a bogus report, but it's not a negative report either. My brothers and I have a plan, and we've decided to go separate directions in order to essentially divide and conquer. And we're bringing about cannabidiol, cannabidiol, cannabigerol, and tetrahydrocannabinol, and all of these cannabinoids to the world, and we're doing it on a couple of different platforms.
Let me ask you this. CBD obviously is really, really important. Everything that I read and hear about says a 1-to-1 ratio of THC and CBD is really good. How do you feel about the CBD that's coming from the hemp plant?
Well, I mean, there's a number of things I can say about that. I can tell you scientifically, or from a laboratory perspective, I mean, cannabidiol coming from a hemp plant can be just fine, but it has to be decarboxylated. It has to be activated, and largely a lot of what's coming in from China or Mongolia or Romania, or excuse me, even Canada, for that matter, is not activated, and so therefore you can't recommend a good, safe usage dosage. The other issue that we're seeing in those, and what we test in the laboratory, is that a good, if not most of, unfortunately, what's coming in from out of the country is not grown for medicinal purposes, and is grown for industrial use, and therefore we're finding an inordinate amount of pesticides and herbicides, which is number one, not okay for human use, let alone adult use, and certainly not okay for pediatric use.
I know that Tamara Wise, I think is her last name, was one of the chemists at Dixie, and she left because she didn't like what was going on. And I know that's very controversial. I've seen Tripp on some other shows and so forth. So I'm not sure how all that's going to wash out, but I haven't really seen Dixie address, the accusations.
Well, I can't speak for Dixie, certainly not. But I think that there's a wide gap between recreational marijuana and true medicinal marijuana. And I think a lot of people have used the word medicinal in a sense that has been used very, very loosely. And that's something that I can't condone. What we're trying to do are establish true clinical uses for medicinal cannabis, provide case studies, observational research studies, and taking the success and the stories that come out of this from the anecdotal perspective into the clinical perspective. And so I don't feel that you can do that from a wholly nutraceutical perspective, or the way that some of these companies take that approach. I don't feel it's appropriate to import something, to incorporate something, to make medical claim. Now, if you're going to grow something from seed or clone that is designed for a particular illness, where you put standard operating procedures around it, organic, non-pesticides, non-herbicide, and you're growing that for a particular illness or disease state, then I think that you can begin to enter into that nutraceutical claim. But there's way too many snake oil salesmen out there. Not to say Dixie's one of them. I think they have some incredible products, but I believe there's some other even more diabolical situations and people out there that are peddling this, unfortunately, on children and giving families false hope while charging them an inordinate amount of money every month. And to me, it's inexcusable.
Yeah, I totally understand. We only have about 2 minutes left before I got to close the show. But, legalization, I told you, I've been waiting for it for 45 years. I was so excited last year during the elections and so forth. And I just know that medical has to coexist with recreational. I know that Washington State's having a problem. They're trying to just have recreational and not medical. There's always going to be a medical need, a dispensary for people who want to use it medically so they can get the right advice and so forth. So how do you feel about that? Do you think Colorado is going to keep a really strong medical program?
Well, Larry, it can't help but not keep a strong medical program. And let's put it this way, and I know you don't have time. Let's put it this way. No time in the history of pharmacology or nutraceuticals have you ever seen a whole plant natural compound that is surpassing the efficacy of an FDA-approved medicinal pharmaceutical. You've never seen that happen. You're seeing that happen now. So medical's not going anywhere. In fact, it's just getting warmed up. So recreational, fantastic, super, all for it. But you haven't seen anything yet in regards to what this plant's going to unlock in the endocannabinoid system.
Absolutely.
And I want to say also thank you to Julia and thank you Peter McWilliams and all the amazing things that you guys are doing. I want to make sure and say that.
Josh, thank you very much. Thanks for voicing over that piece. I can't wait to see it. Hopefully Christmas Eve. Everybody can go to Facebook to Peter McWilliams Remembrance, and you can find out more information about when the film will be available. And Josh, when you're able to come back and tell us about what your new endeavor is going to be, please, I would love to talk to you for a long time. I'm a huge fan, and I thank you for taking the time in this late night tonight to come on Medical Marijuana Radio. So I appreciate it, Josh.
My pleasure. I love what you guys are doing. I'm welcome to come on. I'm so happy to come on anytime. You guys have a wonderful night.
Thanks, buddy. Take care. And that's Josh Stanley and Julia, and we'll be right back after this.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana.
Wow, that was very nice. Julia, thank you very much for your passion. You really promoted this show, and I hope that everybody will go to the Facebook page of Peter McWilliams Remembrance and find out when you'll be able to watch this great film about Peter's experience. And Josh, thank you so much. We'll get you back again as well. I want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. Thank you for your inspiration. We'll be back after the New Year's. This is our last Friday night show until after the New Year's. Everybody have a merry holiday and Christmas and New Year. We will be back tomorrow night for another fresh show at 6 p.m. Pacific, and hopefully we'll get another good guest and your calls. Sorry we couldn't get some of the calls in today, a little bit of a technical difficulty, but try again tomorrow night. If you have any suggestions, you can write us at info@mmjradio.com. Also on Wednesdays on canawanabuy.com. That's canawanabuy.com. I do a 5-minute report every Wednesday. It's Wednesdays with Larawana.
Shalom.
Good night, everybody. Feel well.